Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnuhu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Narayana. I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me around 10 years ago. It was October, and I just arrived back to the Buffalo airport from Boston. And it was late, and typically someone from Chinmaya Mission Buffalo would pick me up, and then I would drive home. But it was too late, so I took a taxi to where my car was parked. And as I got into the taxi, the driver asked, "Where do you want to go?" And I had shared, "I need to go to this area." And he said, "I don't know where that is." And so I shared, "If you can get me to this area, I can get you further into the neighborhood where my car is parked." And he said, "We have a deal." And he's a very burly person. I'm very tired after having taught for some time. So he's driving, and I keep catching him looking at me through his rearview mirror. So he asks, "Where are you coming from?" "Boston." "What were you doing?" I said, "I teach philosophy as a social service." He shares, he has his own philosophy. And I never asked him to tell me his philosophy. I just want some quiet time. But he starts telling me about his philosophy. And he said, every morning when he wakes up, he talks to JC. So you're hearing me clearly. I didn't say JZ. I said JC. Who is JC to this man? Jesus Christ. And he talks to Jesus Christ, sharing, "Please give me work. Please keep my family safe." And then he gets up and he starts to drive. So he's sharing all of this with me. And he says, in between customers, then he keeps talking to JC, complaining about the weather in Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills are no good. And then, as I'm about to get to the home where my car is parked, he shares he has 8 kids, and every one of them is in college or has graduated. And I point that out because he's not a cab driver in DC or Los Angeles. This is Buffalo. It's not a wealthy city. And as I got out of that car and got into my car, all I could think about was the integrity of this taxi driver. That many of us talk about praying to Bhagwan, talking to Bhagwan, but he feels it. And he feels the protection that JC provides him also. I was really humbled by this one taxi ride that I was in. And I'm sharing this with you because this morning in Meaningful Mornings, I had shared, and many of you were there, the challenge with knowing a lot of people is you come to know a lot about death. When you know a lot of people, then you know that this person is sick, that person has died. So this is a regular occurrence that is shared with me. And so, if you can visualize that tonight all of us will die, what would you want to be remembered for? If all of us were to die tonight, tomorrow if there's a celebration, what would you want to be remembered for? Please take a moment and think about it. You may be thinking that you're a loving person to your family, or you're sensitive to the community and so on. But now I'm going to push on that idea. What do you think you, will be remembered for? There is a difference between what you want to be remembered for and what you will be remembered for. And that's why I shared this story. For some, what they want and what they will, there's no integration there. But for this taxi driver, there was an integration between what he was thinking and saying and feeling. Our workshop is on rightness. In Sanskrit, that would be dharma. Bringing this back to English, dharma means, a meaning of dharma is responsibility, responsibilities. When you follow your responsibilities, if we treat dharma as a noun and you follow this, what happens to you? What change do you feel in your personality? You feel more integrated. Dharma as a verb means that which integrates. So our workshop is quite comprehensive. Yoga is introduced, action is introduced, responsibilities, integration. And this is why we're taking this up in a 3D format. Discourse, what's after that? Discussion. That's when your face is really brightened up. And then after that, dialogue. I have some private questions that are beside me today. I often think about if this 3D format is effective, and in my mind I play it out as the discourse is shravana. The discussion is manana. And the dialogue, if you open up the word nididhyasana, the purpose of nididhyasana or contemplation is to personalize. Personalize what you're contemplating on, so you feel what you're contemplating on. That's what this dialogue does, correct? You ask a personal question, I try to give you a personal answer. So we are engaged really in a deep sadhana. And I hope you're feeling the same. On Monday night, one of our young adults had counted that I was the 108th person here. Yesterday, there was 116 people here. I counted myself. It's very rare to be in a setting like this where more people come the next day. I've been doing this for a long time. It's rare for that to happen. So as I think about effectiveness, I think this is effective. One night, in the Srimad Bhagavatam's 10th canto, Bhagavan Krishna is in the middle of the jungle and he starts to play his flute. And his flute is a very unique flute that is supersonic, subsonic. The only beings who could hear this flute were the gopis. And this was late at night. And immediately, they stopped what they were doing. Cooking, cleaning, talking, getting ready for bed, whatever they were doing, they just stopped and they ran to Bhagavan Krishna in the middle of the jungle. And I'm pointing out that this is a jungle. In our young adults retreat, I was sharing, it's not a forest. The word aranya, vana, it doesn't mean forest. In America, in a forest, the most dangerous animal is a deer. In Uttar Pradesh, if you're in a jungle thousands of years ago, there's cobras and scorpions and elephants and tigers. So these gopis are courageous. And when Bhagavan sees all of them, he stops playing and smiles and says, "What's up? What are you doing here? It's the middle of the night, it's dangerous." And with such courage and confidence, they look at him in the eye and say, "You have taught us our only relationship in life is with you. And so here we are." And this dialogue is completed with Bhagavan sharing, "Your prayers will be answered." Earlier in Bhagavatam, these gopis were praying to Bhagavati Katyayini, for Bhagavan Krishna to be their husband. And he becomes their husband. And their reception was the Rasa Leela. Now, why I'm sharing all of this is the prelude or the precursor or the pre-preparation to study Bhagavad Gita is Srimad Bhagavatam. You have to study Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 18,000 verses, to be ready to study the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. But we live in a fast time, correct? We already know the 18,000 verses. There are stories about Bhagavan Krishna, and so we get right into the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is this song, and if we follow this song, we will reach Bhagavan, we will feel Bhagavan. But this requires us to be like the gopis, whose only relationship, whose only purpose is divinity. The Bhagavad Gita has the message of guiding us to moksha. What is an English word for moksha? Liberation. Give me more. Enlightenment. Salvation. These are good but scholarly words. What is moksha? I'm asking all of you. Are you happy? I'm asking you, are you happy? Okay. Now you know there's a trick in this question. Should I say yes? Should I say no? And if you say yes, which I hope you do, what's going to be my next question? Why? And then you're going to fill in that blank. And what's going to happen to that blank? It's going to change. I'm happy because this is the second last night of the workshop. Only one more night to go. But then another teacher is going to come and facilitate a workshop, correct? What is moksha? Being happy for no reason. Then you know it's your nature. Now for Prince Arjuna, for us, that's far away. That's the destination. How do we make this closer? What is the means? Dharma. Please don't feel like this doesn't apply to you. Don't feel like you're beyond this. Dharma or rightness is the means. In Bhagavad Gita's chapter 2, Bhagavan Krishna magnifies selfless one time. Okay? Work with me with this visualization. He magnifies one time. The seeds for Karma Yoga are in chapter 2. In chapter 3, he magnifies this 10 times. The whole chapter is about selflessness. In chapter 4, he magnifies this 100 times. It's the same teaching but magnified more. As you're engaged in selflessness, you have to let go of deservership. Chapter 4. You have to let go of deservership. Chapter 5 is magnified. We're at 1, 10, 100, 1,000 times. Chapter 5, 1,000 times. You have to be selfless, letting go of deservership and letting go of doership. Then you can practice to feel chapter 6, which is on dhyana, which is to feel delight. Vivek is not trying to confuse you, even though I'm good at it. But I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm only trying to emphasize that this cannot be a part-time effort. Your entire being has to be directed towards rightness. Your thoughts, your words, your actions. In chapter 3, verse 8, the verse can be summarized into 3 English words. Action facilitates function. Action facilitates function. And so we started our workshop by getting to know the right action, that was the pancha karma. From 5 to 1, rehabilitation, immoral, selfish, then it drifted into responsibilities, correct? Special and regular. In chapter 3, verse 9, I'm reading this again. Yajñartat karmanon yatra lokoyam karma bandanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangas samachara. This verse can be summarized into the 3 English words of dedication facilitates evolution. Dedication facilitates evolution. There's a very big difference between verse 8 and verse 9. Verse 8, I just keep functioning. There's no upward movement in my life. But verse 9, my actions are infused with the right attitude. Verse 8, right action. Verse 9, right action plus right attitude. So now all of a sudden, there's upward movement. There's evolution. And we tuned into the pancha kirti. Going through that again, as I engage in the right actions, what should my feeling be like? Number 5, tell me in English. Sing. The point of this is, as you're engaged in the right action, you may be doing that mechanically, but if you keep repeating that, there's a possibility this will become meaningful. What did Ratnakara first chant? What came out of his mouth? Mara. Our Hindi speakers, what does that mean? Die. You know, it's almost like a curse you would put on someone. Mara, you know, may you die. And he did do this mechanically, but eventually it became Rama. And he became the original Rishi in a certain way. So sing. What's number 4? This is a better attitude. Seek. Your words have to be matched with your thoughts. I strongly encourage everyone here, and I practice this myself, to start going on freedom walks. I started this in the ashram. After Puja Swami Tejomayananda would be finished speaking, I observed that people would immediately go into what's next. Breakfast, tea, we have to go do this seva. And I didn't like it. And that's why I'm discouraging you from doing it too, correct? I shared quietly, leave. So I would leave all my stuff there, and I would go and walk on the road at Sandipani, which some of you know about. I would walk to the gate, touch it, walk back to the discourse hall, and do that twice, the whole time thinking about what I just listened to. And what was funny about it is, we weren't allowed to leave the ashram, so every time I would touch the gate, the security guard would walk in front of me. Like he didn't every day he thought I was escaping and being rejected. So for everyone here, to get into the practice of going on freedom walks, you take one verse of Bhagavad Gita, put it in here, and walk then. You live in a part of the country and world where it doesn't get cold. If you think it gets cold, you are lying to yourself. It does not get cold in Maryland or Virginia. If you don't believe me, come to New York State. Come to Ontario. And when you walk, don't go with anyone. Don't go with the phone. Just go with that teaching. And feel it. Feel free. That's what seeking is. Most of our reflection is on our long commute where we're thinking about traffic also. Freedom walks. Number 3, what is the bhava or the kirti? Support. I offered my words, I offered my thoughts, now I'm offering my actions. Actions speak louder than words, yes? One point I want to make about this. When we all started to study from home, let's say study from home in terms of Vedanta, Vivek and Vivek's community started using Zoom in September of 2016. Most of the rest of the world started using this in March of 2020. So we really had a 4-year head start on Zoom culture. That's why if you join our programs, everybody has their cameras on. Everybody's names are written, everyone's on the chat, people aren't eating, people aren't drinking. And I realized during this period how much money people were saving. They weren't going on vacations. People weren't paying for dressing up, as an example. And so I thought to myself, people are giving, but now they have more money, so they should be giving more. And this is when we started our Prithvi Seva Sangha efforts, where we started to ask people, you have more money, so give more money to what you're going to benefit from, and that is the earth. Agreed? On Monday we had learned, if the environment were a bank, it would have already been saved. When banks struggle, who steps in? You and the government. When the environment struggles, what happens? We look the other way. And so what I have found, and Vivek has been doing this for many years now, if you can get people to understand when they support, they're supporting themselves, they will give twice. I'll give, let's say in this example, $1,000 to Chinmaya Mission, which I'm already doing, but now I'll also give $1,000 to an environmental charity as an example. To think that I'm going to get $2,000 for Chinmaya Mission, that's not going to work. It is a short-term strategy. Instead, do encourage people to support Chinmaya Mission and whatever organization you're supporting, but also what we're all part of. And that's why I shared in the Prithvi Utsava, we're now approaching raising $250,000 for environmental charities. In addition to, we just bought an ashram in Cleveland. We just had a fundraiser to refurbish it. Now we're raising funds to buy the land around there. So this is all a workable model. Support. Have that bhava. Number 2, serve. And I'd mentioned that this is to be part of your lifestyle. A reason we don't serve, and this will be your discussion subject today, a reason we don't serve or make it our lifestyle is attachment. Particularly attachment to the people that are sitting around us. We feel that this is our dharma, that is our family and our community and society, that is a later dharma. Yes? The people who are sitting on the floor, see, you won't judge them for being here, but if someone came in here and saw so many young people, they think, what kind of person is teaching them? They should be out there making money. They should be on Shadi.com and so on. But all of you, you're happy to see them, correct? Because you know that. When should you be happy? Yesterday. If you're not happy yesterday, be happy today. As soon as possible. In the Bhagavad Gita, the genesis of attachment, imagine attachment is an effect. What do you think causes attachment? What precedes this? Tell me, guess. Desire, that's good. Anyone else? Insecurity. Yes, yes, yes. It is vikshepa or projection. Vikshepa or projection. In a relationship, it's expectation. I have this expectation of you, and then there's an attachment, okay? Raga is caused by vikshepa. Vikshepa is in effect, what do you think the cause of that is? Ignorance or avidya. When I forget that I am happy for no reason, then I project happiness onto you and I get attached. Everyone saw that sequence. But you see what happens, I just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I become more small-hearted. So what's the cure to raga? What's the cure? This is a disease of smallness. How do you fight this disease? What's the medicine? Anuraga. Anuraga means love. When I start to love more people, then I become free of that attachment of less people. In the Ramayana, and I have very little time, so I'm moving fast, so please listen carefully. Shurpanakha is an icon of attachment. She wants Rama, she wants Lakshmana, but she doesn't want Sita to be there, correct? Very small-hearted. The first step to come out of this is, who takes on Shurpanakha first? Shri Lakshmana. He's the icon of Viraga. He was in that jungle with less comfort than anyone else. Viraga. But Viraga is not enough. It's like you're sacrificing without that dedication. Bhagwan Rama finally ends this fight. He's the icon of Anuraga. When you love more, you are attached less. So serve is love your community, love your society. And number one, the number one kirti? Surrender. What is one of the most famous teachings of the Bhagavad Gita? Comes in chapter 6, verse 5, I think. Lift yourself by yourself. Agreed? You've heard that. We put it on posters. We have tattoos of it. Yes, lift yourself by yourself. Then if you fast forward to chapter 11, Bhagavan Krishna is sharing with Prince Arjuna, don't lift yourself by yourself, be my instrument. All of a sudden, the free will has become a modified or hybrid of free will and God's will. You see that? But now let's fast forward to chapter 18. One of the final messages is, Sarva Dharma Parityaga. How should you live? Just do what I say. Now there's no free will, there's only God's will. That's the evolution of Bhagavad Gita also, from free will to hybrid will to God's will. So this bhava or kirti of surrender, this is how Bhagavan is creating our trajectory. Are we together? Our workshop is on rightness. You start with right action. Zoom in more. In that right action, you have to have the right attitude. How many of you wear corrective lenses? You know, when you go to the optometrist and they find one lens, but then they keep on changing it to make sure that it's perfect. That's what we're doing too. There is the right action, the right attitude. The next part of our framework is the right Atma. In English, the right identification. We are going to explore chapter 3, verse 21, but before we do, I just want to reference chapter 3, verse 20. There's a special name that's used in this verse. That special name is Raja Janaka. Who do we know Raja Janaka to be? Bhagavati Sita's father, and also one who is happy for no reason. Happy for no reason. And Bhagavan Krishna shares, when one acts in the right way, with the right attitude, all rightness, then one becomes happy for no reason. But there's a very causal message in this. Before he became a Raja, he first had to be a Shishya. He had to be a disciple before he became a Raja. He had to know who he is to be able to then go on to help the Praja. Okay? And the implication of what I'm sharing here is, as you're engaged in the right actions with the right attitude, who's engaging? Who are you? What part of you? chapter 3, verse 21. This is also one of the most famous verses. Pujaswami Chinmaya encouraged students of this verse to chant this 3 times. When he would teach this, it would be chanted 3 times, then he would teach this. Yad yadacharati shreshtaha tattadevetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. Yat yat acharati shreshtaha. In whatever way the great think and speak and act, tat tat itara janaha. So too, people who are watching will think and speak and act in that way. Saha yat pramanam. Those who are great, they set the standard. What is their standard? Lokaha tat anuvartate. Their standard is for the people, and so the people also live by that standard. This is a simple translation. Here is this verse in 3 English words. Chapter 3, verse 8. What were the 3 English words? Action facilitates function. Verse 9. Dedication facilitates evolution. Here's your 3rd summary. Vision facilitates inclusion. Vision facilitates inclusion. The more visionary you are, the more you feel you are that person and that animal and that plant and that stone. How many of you have been to Sri Ramana's ashram? Only a few people. I'm talking about in Tamil Nadu. Yes? Okay. If you go there, and you should go there, they have a grave or burial site for Jackie the dog, for Lakshmi the cow. What we're taught is that animals cannot be freed. They cannot be happy for no reason. But when someone like a Sri Ramana, who is the infinite, who is divine, how can that not be possible? Infinity and impossible are antonyms, correct? And that's what I'm trying to share, is that Sri Ramana felt for that dog and that cow like he felt for his mother, whom he also graced with enlightenment. But he was a shishya once, correct? When he was 13 or 16, he lied down in that mandir and he went through his own death. And when he couldn't die anymore, that's when he became happy for no reason. Vision facilitates inclusion. We have explored the Pancha Karma, the Pancha Kirti. Now we're exploring the Pancha Kosha. You have the right actions, zoomed in with the right attitude, now zooming into the right Atma. Who is it that is engaged in all of this? The Pancha Kosha. Starting with number 5, body. Body. As you're engaged in the right actions with the right attitudes, apply your body. I'm going to give you a simple practice for each of these sheets, each of these coverings. For the body, sleep early. Sleep early. What time does this workshop end? 8:30. What time do the Nisacharas wake up? 9 p.m. So we've structured this day well. Nisachara means goblin, ghoul, ghosts. And the etymology of this word is Nishayam Charati. Those who wander at night are zombies. Now some of our work meetings start at 9 o'clock. Our 4th meal starts at 9 o'clock. At 9 p.m., this body becomes most identified with. So what should you do? Be horizontal. Sleep early. It will help you to feel like you're less of the body. Number 4, the breath. The breath. Sleep early for the breath. Walk early. Walk early. During your responsibilities or before your responsibilities, go for a walk. I was sharing with our high school students, the easiest way to nurture resilience is exercise. Your endorphins change, your serotonin changes. Today they're so sattvic because they were outside all day. And think of this very, very, very practically. If you go to Chinmaya and you go through the nature trail, do you judge those trees? Do you judge the stones on the ground? And since you don't judge them, you don't feel judged by them, correct? When you walk here into this room, what do you look at first? Don't say Bhagwanji. You see who's here, you see what they're wearing, where they're sitting. You try to sit closer so you feel like you're going to learn more. And my point is, we come in judging, so we feel judged. But the more you're in nature, the more natural you feel. We're getting to the right Atma, correct? Are you the body? No. How do you feel you're not the body? Sleep early. Are you the breath? No. The more healthy you are, the less you feel that you are the breath. If you're not healthy, you really feel you're your respiratory system then. Number 3, mind. Mind. And the way we can practice having the right Atma with the mind is study early. Study early. And here, when I share study, study that which inspires you. When I facilitate workshops at corporations, like recently I spoke at KPMG's global office in New Jersey, and I was bringing up such points, like you should study early. And I had asked everyone there, do you study? What do you read? And almost everyone said, what we study and read all week is technical manuals. Now, when you read a technical manual, do you feel inspired? I can't wait for the next manual, right? You just want to finish it right away. This is a difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation is temporary. Like sugar, like eating ice cream before athletics. But inspiration is not temporary. That source is from within you. Study that which inspires you. Now, what inspires you? If you understand it. There are too many people I interact with that study texts and books that they don't understand. And so they're not inspired by it. Study self-unfoldment. Study Bhajagovindam. Study Bala Bhagavatam. Study what you can relate to so you feel this. Number 4, the intellect. You are not the mind. Between the mind and the intellect, you are the intellect. That's a more powerful part of you. Wake early. Wake early. What is the ideal time for all of us to wake up? When is our intellect expressing most power? 3 a.m. That was funny. What I said about the mind was not funny, but this is funny. If not 3 a.m., 4 a.m. At the ashram, we used to wake up at 4 a.m. If not 4 a.m., 5 a.m. What's my next statement? If not 5 a.m., 6 a.m. What's my next statement? Nothing. If you don't get up before 6, quit. Unless you're a child or you're not well or you have a sleeping condition, every one of us should be awake to greet the sun, not the other way around. Every part of creation revolves around the sun, including nocturnal animals, other than us. Our Surya Devata is the national grid, or whoever provides you energy or electricity, correct? Your intellect is most powerful between 3 a.m. and 9 a.m. That's when you should make decisions about the day, about the week. Then you will be decisive. How many of you wish you were more decisive in personality? I don't know. Do I want to be decisive? We all want to be more decisive. So how? Wake early. Like I was giving you that optometrist example. Finally, that optometrist ends with the perfect lens, correct? I went from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is the ego. And the practice here is sync, S-Y-N-C, early. The ego's function is separation. Separation. The more egotistical you are, the more you divide, correct? The more egotistical you are, with that division, then you gossip about it. I had mentioned that earlier. The less egotistical you are, you don't focus on the differences, you focus on what unites you. Sync early means, I feel you're separate and I'm separate, but this is not who I am and that's not who you are, so I say sorry. Or I ask for forgiveness. Or I listen more, I try to understand more, I try to empathize more. That's that syncing, correct? Summarizing all of this, we used chapter 3, verse 21. In verse 21, Bhagavan Krishna is really overtly sharing about leadership. What a leader does, followers do. But that's why I consciously told you first about verse 20, that Janaka first led himself to become a Raja, then the Praja got involved. I use the word Shishya, correct? Some years ago, I spoke at an International Women's Day conference on leading with courage. And 80% of what I said was, if you lead yourself, you will naturally lead others. But leading yourself, who are you? What does it mean in reference to yourself? So we have all of these coverings, and we just have to go deeper and deeper and deeper into who we are. What's closest to us is the ego, but that's not the finality yet. Connecting more dots. During the year of COVID beginning, our community engaged in the High Five Challenge. People's schedules became messed up. So we created the High Five Challenge, which was sleep early. If you sleep early, what will you do? Hopefully, wake early. Since you woke up early, now you have time to study early. Not technical manuals, but Bhajagovindam, self-enfoldment. And you're going to feel so good about yourself, and you want to know this more, so what will you do? Walk early. Yes, the freedom walks. And during COVID, we were all physically closer together, so there's more conflict, yes? When we were all studying from home, domestic violence grew so much. Divorces grew so much. And that's why this training is needed finally for sync early. Everyone sees that picture. Sync early. We are not done yet. We have one more right. We're really close to home now, right? We went right, right, right. We're close to home. Tomorrow's focus will be on the right Ananda. We're still at the ego level. The right Ananda. We got to the right action is Nitya Karma, or regular responsibility. We got to the right attitude. The right attitude is surrender. Now we got to the right Atma, like this is who's doing it, Who's doing it is not the spirit. It is the ego. The spirit doesn't need to be free. The ego needs to be free. So now we're there too. Now we come home with the right Ananda. Om Narayana.